Hello everyone, welcome back to the SMITE guide to Xing Tian. This will be the last episode where we get hopefully a full game using Xing Tian solo. Now last time we talked about Xing Tian solo, we had the excellent matchup of Xing Tian versus Bologna, and we were able to talk about the early game. And although I mentioned that the late game for a solo Xing Tian is pretty similar to that of the support Xing Tian for the most part, I still would like at least an example of it. So we'll see if we can get that. Let me see. Our laning opponent, heavens, could be anyone really. It's not going to be Nox or Cananos. But otherwise, any of the other three could be my laning opponent. However, this does mean that we're pretty much guaranteed a physical laning opponent, which we can immediately turn around and take advantage of, because this means we actually can pretty safely build our first item. Now, yeah, there's a lot of physical there. Now, we've got a couple of options. First off, let's grab this. Grab these. Oh, almost made my mistake. I almost didn't get my hog. There we go. Yep, we're fine. Now, this particular time, you'll notice that I grabbed... What is this called again? Sky Cutting Axe. I can never remember the names of his abilities because they don't make sense. So Sky Cutting Axe specifically because you're looking at wanting to clear this fast, and this actually does 120 damage versus Hook Slam, which does 75. Now, why did I get Hook Slam in the previous episode? Specifically because I knew it was going to be really effective against Bologna. She was very likely going to get her hammer as her wave clear, so interrupting that was more important than clearing the blue buff, as quickly. However, regardless of who our laning opponent is going to be in this match, we're not going to have the kind of opportunity to interrupt any of their wave clear abilities because they're all going to be coming out too fast. With the possible exception of a dash from Cirquette, but that's very unlikely. And notice that we can actually eliminate both waves individually there, which is pretty huge, which means you aren't going to be taking that much damage. I missed that. So it actually is really good overall. Notice that we're going to be arriving at roughly the same time. It's Achilles. Okay, that's a threat because he does have his rather dangerous ult, of course. So we are going to want to keep an eye out for that. That is going to be quite the high-risk situation there. There we go. We're going to get Hook Slime so we can do this. Because we don't want to engage him too hardcore yet. He's got slightly better wave clear at this point. He just wasted some of that on actually damaging me. We're just going to use a potion here, that's fine. Gonna do this. We're going to get a whole bunch of damage on him here. Basically free poke, which is fantastic. He's going to get some damage as well, that's fine. Notice he was taking way more minion damage than me. What did he start as his beginning item? Now, why is he taking so much damage from minions compared to me? Well, first off, I'm taking a lot here right now. There we go. But he's... Oh, he actually... Well, he's got Bluestone, of course, as well. And this is where we really come into our own with the Furious Roar. We're not looking too good here. Now, notice that I was able to dodge most of that thanks to my jump. Willish is in an unusually powerful position right here. So we're going to go ahead and warm him up for this. And we dodge the stun, which is very important. See, in this particular case, it's less about interrupting his abilities, because we really can't. They come out too fast. But what we are really going to be about is dodging the significant ones, primarily his stun. Well, actually, before we go help him out, I want to throw that down lane. She didn't even stop for my blue buff, which is a bit odd. Alright, I guess I'll just solo clear this. Go ahead and throw out a Furious Roar there, just to make sure that I clear this in a timely-ish manner. There we go. Now we're going to, again, increase our Furious Roar. We only really need Sky Cutting Axe to dodge. Did he teleport? He does not have teleport. He's got Blink. This gives us actually a rather impressive advantage, to be completely honest. The reason why is because this means that I can go back pretty soon and lose much less than he can. I know he's trying to just push the stuff under tower. That's totally fine. I really don't care too much that he pushes this under tower. He's going to now probably overcommit here. But see, I can back and just teleport back with very little trouble. I lost my mouse there for a bit. I was way too slow on the potion purchasing. Holy cow. And you didn't use your ult in time, and now you're dead. Oh, you blinked that. Alright, that's fairly interesting. It still doesn't make a huge difference because now he has to back, and since he doesn't have teleport, he will lose this wave. There's just no ways around it. He will also lose the obelisk as well. I'm sorry, it's not an obelisk, it's a totem. But he'll lose this as well, so that's not great for him. This is probably going to put me a little bit ahead here. Let me see. Yeah, it's going to put me ahead, gold-wise. And once I start on this wave before he even gets back, that's going to put me even farther ahead. I can actually use my entire kit here and clear even faster. There we go. And I can start working on this thing for an even bigger experience in gold lead. Because he's not likely to be able to interrupt me. He's also very likely going to be moving on to going for his mana buff right afterwards as well. Grab this. And just like that, I am decently ahead of him. He's going to be very aggressive at this point, because he's going to try to force me back while my teleport is down, but that is just not going to happen. He does not have any hope of being able to stop me at that point. I have enough for my Breastplate of Valor. This is going to be... Okay, so we have a issue with Aphrodite here. Actually, that was so distracting, I forgot to use my Sky Cutting Axe on this. He'll have pushed this, but that's fine. There's Aphrodite. Now notice I'm a level ahead of him. Just going to get some nice poke here. And once again, he does not do anything. Oh, that was a huge mistake on his part. Holy cow, I can't believe he did that. What are you doing, guy? Are you okay? Honestly, like, what was that? I'm running out of mana here. He's going to press this. Oh, holy cow. He's got the whole world over here. All right. I'm going to die here, but there's really nothing I can do about that. That was interesting. I did not expect a mid-gank. Mostly because I didn't... Yeah, that was a late call. I mean, seriously. Alright, so we have that now. We can go ahead and purchase potions, finally. We'll go ahead and purchase a ward, apparently. We're just going to wait a couple of seconds out for the teleport. It's honestly faster. And you know, despite everything, I'm still going to be ahead of him. He's ahead of me in gold because he just got the totem, I think. But, yeah, see, I'm going to be ahead of him in experience, so... And then she comes over for the counter gank, which he really should honestly have expected. She should have pulled him in there. You don't have any way of stopping this, so you're just straight up dead. And there we go. Just like that, I am back ahead of the game. He just hit level 8, so I'm just going to hit level 8. I'm sorry, level 9 faster. I'm going to get more gold here. That was a really great gank by the Willish, by the way. He really honestly should have expected that. Usually, whenever a solo laner gets killed, most of the time, if the jungler is doing their job, they're going to counter gank to make sure that their solo lane can get back ahead. In this particular case, it was even more likely because I was already ahead when I died, so getting me back ahead was going to be a piece of cake for the Willish. This is actually why it's so important to not necessarily chase Windows 97, really? Oh, don't burn them like that. Anyways, that's why it's kind of important. That's why it's so vitally important for your solo lane to be ahead, is because if they get killed, if the more ahead they are, the easier it's going to be for their jungler to catch them back up, which is pretty huge. It's a pretty big deal. What are you doing, guy? You are doing this absolutely constantly. He really is. Okay, I'm about to get slapped. I didn't pick up my mana buff? Interesting. You're level 8? No, you can't kill me. And honestly, Achilles could not care less about you. What is this? He lets himself get pulled in constantly by my ult. He completely ignored the plight of Serket. Holy, the Serket did not die because the Willish, well, the Willish was on top of that, and that absolutely helped. But what really killed her was the fact that my boy here did not care. It was weird. Okay, now I need to get out. Yeah, it was a good move by his part, but still, this is absolutely ridiculous. He is so far behind right now in terms of health. Mana, he doesn't have enough of that either. He's going to go back. He doesn't have teleport, so I'm going to be able to get another level on him. I'm going to get more gold. This is why it's important to have teleport. This is the difference it can make. Now, there are a couple of other viable options, don't get me wrong. I've seen meditation. I'm sorry, it's not called that anymore, is it? What is that called? Cloak of Meditation. I've seen that used to some good extent in solo lane. Not often, but it can be used effectively. It takes some practice. I myself am not fond of it, so you don't see me using it very often. But it can be used. So make no mistake about that. No. You're going to do it again, aren't you? And he attacks me under tower. What are you doing? This is the absolute most insane Achilles I've ever played against in a very long time. I mean, this isn't the most insane solo laner I've ever played. I've played against more lunatic solo lanes, but just some of this decision making is absolutely incredible. Yeah, I don't know where he is right now. Doesn't make a huge difference. Now, it's actually important, and I forgot to mention this earlier, and I didn't mention this... Well, I didn't mention this previous episode of solo lane because I was facing off against a Bellona, and Hook Slime is very important against Bellona. But against anyone you can't interrupt their wave clear with, such as Achilles, it's important that you level up your Sky Cutting Axe next so that you can consistently clear that blue buff. We're gonna do this again, aren't we? No, you've learned? Have you learned? I'm not sure he really has. I think he's just being distracted by something else. I'm not quite sure where he is, what he's doing, or what he's doing. Oh, there you are. I don't understand what he's doing. You're gonna chase me now? You are. Oh, you actually turned around this time. Okay. You're unusually aggressive. What changed? Well, no, I can't even say you're unusually aggressive. You've always been this aggressive. You're gonna follow me to our tower? No? Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and clear the wave really quick. You can't kill me. I could just do this. And then teleport back before the wave even meets. Have you? Okay, you finally have runic shields. That's something. That was very close. Okay, looks like only one, possibly two minions were shot, so we're actually in good shape here. Yep, that's fine. That's fine. We don't care too much. Not that big of a deal. We have Mystical Male. He's gonna have a really hard time contesting at this point. Now notice that I'm hitting the thing with the auto attack, backing up. I'm trying to, well, I was trying to unsuccessfully lure it closer to the wave, but I was also trying to poke the other wave. You can see where I was apparently poking one of the minions because it died pretty quick. We're going on a trip. I know you're not close to... Oh, you actually used your ult in response. Okay. He is learning. He's backing? Oh, alright. That's a decision. Is he going to finally purchase teleport or no? I have a feeling he isn't. That looks like it's probably going to be his tower, to be honest. Alright. Fair enough. Do realize I am going to be able to kill you, though, right? Nope. I'm going to get absolutely ganked. That was a good play. That was a good play. I now am obviously going to start needing to build at least... no, they have so much physical that I think I'm not even going to build full magic protections. I think I'm just going to go hybrid. Do I go Pridwin or do I go... I should go Mantle of Discord. Get 60 magic protections out of that, 60 physical protections. I think that would be the safer choice. Because it is Nox that is their source of magic damage, and she is obviously slapping. So I am going to want to prepare for that by building Cloak of Concentration... Oh, I'm sorry, Mantle of Discord at some point down the road. Which... There we go. He's proxying while being behind. I mean, well, he is ahead in gold. He just caught up to me in level, but this is an extremely risky proposition for someone who's been behind for most of the game. If you're behind, you really honestly should not be proxying. Also, the Willish is absolutely jacked. Zoinks. Alright. Minor crisis resolved. We're going to go ahead and push this wave up a little bit here. I don't want to push this too far up. But I want to at least put the wave in a threatening position for now. And now at this point I'm just going to farm. Now once again, notice I've pulled ahead. I'm the only one who seems to have won... Well, no, it looks like the duo lane is decently tied, roughly speaking. Who's actually technically ahead? Yeah, they're about tied. Looks like Hou Yi did slightly better, but not by a whole lot. So, based on how the Circuit's been playing overall, I would have to say probably just that Willish has been able to rotate a little bit more consistently, which, given that she can ride Suku, I think the cat's name is, that doesn't really surprise me too much. Okay, he's there. What do we have here in mid? Nothing. Nothing's happening in mid. I thought they were on this. They are not. Peekaboo. Oh, really? I'm gonna get rooted here, which is fine, because my physical protections are out incredibly huge amount. I just need her dead, which just happened, so that's fine. You've actually built good protections. I can see that by how little my... Good, that was good. There we go. We can kill him. That was a good counter. Good response. Oh, if she hadn't missed that. Okay, that's a story. No. No, you do not get the Awilish. You do not get the Awilish today. I'm working on it, but that's not gonna happen. Yeah. The Cirquette showed up at exactly the perfect time for that. That was really good of her to be right there. That was very... I won't say skill, but good timing. Good recognition of the fact that Keranos alone was probably not going to kill me. I probably should have just left immediately afterwards. I stayed a little too long. Once I'd saved Awilish's life, I should have left. I didn't. That's on me. I didn't even think to check if Cirquette was up, because obviously as the jungler, she would be the most likely one to arrive to reinforce. Again, totally on me. I'll probably want to build... what do you call that? Spectral. And based on their team comp... Yeah, I think, I don't care about my tower, honestly. What's the situation here? Oh, I was a little late. Hello. Thanks, Gilgamesh. I'm just trying to dodge the silence right now, honestly. Oh, you goofed. I walked right into that again. Oh, shoot. Yeah. So close. So close. I need Spear of the Magus. It's really just the Nox right now that's doing the majority of the damage, I suspect we'll find. Yeah. Yeah, the Keranos did 1100 damage there, but you also have to remember that he hit me with a ton of auto attacks to do that. It was definitely the Nox doing a lot there. Just the silence alone is a problem. I'm not too concerned, in all honesty. I am behind him in level right now because I'm spending too much time in the jungle. Which is on me. I actually should be defending my right lane from those fire minions. Let's grab a sentry ward too. Yeah. There we go. I don't know why they're fighting in mid lane. We're behind as a team, which is another part of the problem. I smell an opportunity here. I have my ult up, so I actually have a decent shot at this. Let's see where they're at. There's Gilgamesh. Is Nox still around? No, but there's Keranos. He should be fine. But again, I need to get out of the jungle. I need farm. And I'm not going to find it in the jungle here. There's Nox. Is she still low on health or what? I didn't get to see. Just going to do some farming here. See if we can push down a wave. Cirquette. Alright. Yeah, we're gonna just have to sacrifice the left tower. Okay. I'm not surprised she didn't chase me. That wasn't gonna happen. I have to defend my tower, though. Yeah, at this particular point in time, I've been spending way too much time in the jungle, and I need to just farm. It's really what I need to be doing here. I'm 3 levels down just because I've been trying to gank and trying to get kills and everything and rotate. We are not in a position to be trying to get some pretty big team fights here. That's not going to work. Well, the problem is you keep fighting when we're behind. You all need to relax. That was decent, but it's ultimately not going to make a huge difference. We're not going to be able to stop them. We need to farm. This is the problem right now. I need to also get special armor. If we can eliminate Nox from every team fight, I'm basically unstoppable. I'm building up apparently too much. Alright, we're going to have to drop that idea. That's... I'm going to overcap so hard. I can't build Spectral. I'm going to have to build something else. And here's where I died because... Nox. Whew. Holy cow. Why did you come back in? You didn't need to. There we go. That's what we're talking about. I should actually probably help out with this. I should also probably put down my sentry ward while I'm thinking about it. Hello? There we go. That was really good gameplay by the Hou-Yi, honestly. That was a fantastic move. And they have no sentry there, okay. Does it look like I have the HP for that? I mean, we can try it, but I'm not... Okay, never mind. I'm just trying to hit level 20 at this point. Alright, so Spectral Armor is just way too expensive here. What we'll do instead is get Witchblade. Then we'll finish up with a nice, spicy little Spear of the Magus, I think is the ideal, like I said before. The Achilles has not died or killed anyone since his second death. That's really weird. Why is Aphrodite by herself right there? She has no escape. She should not be by herself. She's gonna die, but at least we got the Gold Fury. The problem is, Aphrodite sucks. She really does. And it's not, it's a kit thing. It's not, I'm not talking about the player. I'm talking about the kit here. Get out of here. Keep running, keep running. I'm gonna make sure you get out. I wouldn't have backed here, but okay. Sure. We'll go with that. Oh, I'm being chased by the enemy Surcat. Let me just back right here. That's fantastic. That's great. Love to see that. The hell are you doing? Finally hit level 20. That's fine. Gonna get our magic focus here for just a small bit of damage at least. And now we're just gonna be looking for that delicious gold. I have far and away too much physical protections, but considering how much damage I've taken from Keranos here, that's fine. That's the Nox we need to kill. Why are you back here by yourself? Well, that was pretty impressive. You've already used your crowd control? We need to actually stop some people back here. Hello. What are you doing, Achilles? Stop that. Holy cow. Alright. Let me just pop out of that real quick. Whoa. That was a good move by the Gilgamesh. That was a really good move by the Gilgamesh. I was hoping he would have built Animosity. That's so strong on him. He can... Benevolence and Animosity on a support Gilgamesh is actually much stronger than people give it credit for, because in the early game, it's a really great support move. You can use it to heal yourself and your ADC/mid. In the late game, you turn it around and actually do really impressive amounts of damage as a support Gilgamesh. It's actually really strong. Hopefully Serket can defend the Titan. I'm not optimistic about that, but maybe. Interesting. She's trying. Good effort, good effort. Now, we may have lost this game, but this is actually a good example of it doesn't really make a big difference how well you do individually as a solo. Okay, let me put it this way. How well you do as a solo is going to affect the long-term health of your team in one very unique way. The Willish really didn't need to worry about me too much. She had to gank twice. These two were great. Serket was... I'm not going to commend the Serket here. I'm not going to commend the Aphrodite here. Both were too aggressive. But overall, notice that for most of the match, I actually want to point this out. This is pretty important here. There are two problems with our team specifically that I can see now. I mentioned the Aphrodite sucked as a character. She's not in a good place balance-wise. She makes for a really effective support, and that is all. And that's only because her kit is really conducive to that. And even then, she's still a terrible support until she hits level 5. Then she's actually a decent support because she provides MP 5. She provides a pushback directly away from the ADC, which is pretty important for an ADC. A knockback is hugely powerful when you're protecting an ADC. Especially if the knockback emanates from the ADC, which it does in Aphrodite's case. She's got a stun, she's got a heal. She really is a support in mage clothing. Do not ever take Aphrodite into the solo or the mid lane. Her kit's not designed for it. It doesn't work. Take her in the solo lane. Build her hybrid. Alright? So, right away, the Nox, who was the big threat to me here, because she was the only source of magic damage, was able to pull really far ahead. Now, this actually has a twofold problem. Since Nox was the only source of magic damage, if we had a regular, actually functioning mage... I'm not criticizing the player's performance, Lemon Pigeon. I am not criticizing the player here. They made some unwise strategic decisions, but that has nothing to do with their god selection. Well, except for that one incident where they died in the mid-jungle, when they were by themselves. I actually mentioned that they shouldn't have been there by themselves when they have no escape. Beyond that, which is more tied to Aphrodite, but applies to a bunch of mages, looking over that particular incident, it mostly comes down to the terrible choice of support and mage. And again, I've talked about this before, but there was a time when Serket support could work. That time has long since passed. It is no longer viable to bring Serket into the support role. If you are trying to play a support Serket, it is specifically because you really want to deal damage, which is fairly obvious from her having Runic Hammer, by the way, which is not... I'm sorry, Runeforged Hammer, which is not the first thing you should build as a support. But she was trying to... And this is also why she built Build of Frenzy. She was trying to get kills, look cool, and be support at the same time. Essentially, she didn't want to play the support role, but wound up with it. So rather than asking someone to trade, she just picked Serket because she's seen some people play Serket before as support and succeed. But that is, again, long since past. Probably pros can still pull that off, but overall, you really should not be trying that. It just does not work. Again, support Serket no longer is functionally effective. I'll detail that in a separate video one day. But for now, it's sufficient to say that unless you are a pro Circuit player or a pro support player, you really should not be taking Circuit into the support role. I've been playing support for years. Even I would not take Circuit into the support role. Not right now, okay? It's just not effective. So we had those two problems right off the top. Now, the Hou-Yi was clearly the better player to Kernos. The problem apparently was that the Circuit was, according to the Hou-Yi, draining golden experience away from him by visiting his lane too often, which is probably because she couldn't do anything in the mid lane with Aphrodite, which doesn't make that much sense. But Aphrodite had probably already fallen behind by that point because, as I mentioned earlier, Aphrodite's early game sucks. So the Circuit couldn't really do anything in mid lane because Aphrodite was already behind, and very likely the enemy Circuit was probably leaning on mid lane a lot. You'll notice actually Circuit only came over whenever Nox came over. They came together. This is very likely because immediately the enemy jungler, Circuit, probably recognized that if Nox starts falling behind, they're doomed because they're 4 physicals and 1 magic, which is something that I was trying to take advantage of, and I did okay at that considering all of the circumstances, but I was also the only primary frontline because Circuit was dying all over the place. And it was 1 frontline, well, 1.5 frontline versus 2. Like I said actually earlier when I was talking about Gilgamesh building animosity, Gilgamesh is actually one of the few characters that can play an aggressive support and still be able to defend their allies. He's got his slow / root / I guess pull in his ult. He's got the kick, which is a push and a stun. He's got a slow on his first ability. In fact, I mean, I believe the circle he provides when he does his leap move on landing, that glowing circle, I'm pretty sure that provides lifesteal to all allies in that. I'm going to double check that after I'm done looking at the screen, but I believe he provides lifesteal to nearby allies as well, or at least allies in that circle. So he actually can be pretty effective in the support role, and again, if you build animosity, if you start with benevolence and move into animosity, you can start really supportive in the early game, and then transition a bit more into damage in the late game without actually sacrificing any of your protections. The Gilgamesh was really good. Much better support in terms of character and gameplay than the Circuit. But I also want to point out that really once Achilles and I left the solo lane, we really didn't... Our stats didn't change much, right? Achilles was 0-2 for most of the game, up until the extreme end. I think that last fight, he got those 3 kills. It was that very last fight. And that was mostly because his team was so far ahead by that point that there wasn't much risk, right? Now, the reason why the Achilles had such a serious problem facing me in the solo lane, why he needed the gank to kill me, why even after that, once Owlish ganked him, he couldn't catch up, why basically the Circuit didn't mess around too much in my lane other than trying to steal my farm. The reason why is because he wasn't building particularly well, okay? He started off with the Shifter's Shield. Now, I'm not exactly sure who he was expecting in the solo lane. Probably he was expecting Circuit. If I had to take a guess, he might have been expecting Willish, but he was not expecting me. He was probably expecting me to be a support, which actually worked out in my favor because this made his early game very weak. Now, after he realized, oh, I'm facing off against a magic damage source, he started working on Runic Shield. Yes, this is an interesting response. The problem with building Runic Shield in the solo lane when you're facing off against a magic support, at least a Guardian solo lane, let me rephrase that, a magic support, what am I talking about? A Guardian solo lane, is that very often Guardian solos don't build their power until late game, so the aura here really didn't matter, because I was utilizing Mystical Mail as my source of, I guess, passive damage, and then relying on my Warrior's Axe and my abilities for the more direct damage. So this really wasn't making that big of a difference. Oh no, my 15 magic power from Warrior's Axe is gone. I wasn't relying on it. I didn't need that. He would have been way better off building Genji's Guard. Oni Hunter's Garb, I believe it is. Really, he could have gone with Bulwark of Hope, which is underpurchased, by the way. He could have used any of these and had a much better time surviving me. Runic Shield was not the move. If you are playing against a Guardian solo lane, Runic Shield is, unless your opponent has already built magic power, this isn't the move. You want cooldown reduction, you want magic protections, or possibly health and magic protections. You know, the Genji's Guard has the cooldowns, the MP5, so you can fall back on the MP5 of Genji's Guard if your mana buff gets stolen. And you've got, of course, 70 magic protections. You can go Bulwark of Hope, which doesn't give you the MP5 or the cooldown, but it does give you more health. It gives you a really powerful passive shield whenever you're low on health. It gives you almost as much magic protections. Both of these are really great options. Now, the Shifter's Shield itself, once he'd finished Runic Shield, Shifter's Shield wasn't a bad idea. Still not ideal, but he'd already purchased the shield and didn't want to sell it because that actually is a net loss, so Shifter's Shield was actually a pretty good move because it is going to give him 40 magic protections. I can see why he built this, that's fine. I can also understand why he built Gladiator's Shield in the second half, because, I mean, Aphrodite was not doing any damage in all honesty, so he really didn't need to worry about magic damage that much. And then he moved into Mantle of Discord, and he was going for Silver Talisman. He was able to, in the second half of the game, he really did recognize, hey, Aphrodite isn't a threat. The only real magic damage threat is Xing Tian, and even then, because he's a Guardian solo, he's not building a ton of magic power, so I can get away with less, right? Pretty well played there. Really, the only criticism of his build I actually have is that Runic Shield, and whatever this was going to be, he probably didn't need it. Unless this was going to be Bulwark of Hope, and he was just feeling particularly paranoid about magic damage, which is possible. Bulwark of Hope would have been really good here. I can't guarantee he wasn't building that. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he was, which would have been really effective. But he was really picking up at the end game, primarily because my team was so far behind. But again, even as a solo lane, I was ahead for a decent amount of the early game, right? I got ganked, and then after I was ganked, I was ahead in terms of golden experience for most of the game until I started trying to rotate. The problem when I started trying to rotate is I really underestimated how far behind my team was. I really should not have been trying to rotate at the time. I really should have been keeping up the farm, trying to, just farm up as much as possible and get as beefy as possible. I wasted a lot of time rotating into bad fights that I didn't think were going to be as bad as they were because I did not understand exactly how bad it was. I knew Aphrodite had lost her lane, and as far as I could see, the Hou Yi and the Keranos had basically just traded blows and were about the same pace. They really were going at the same pace throughout. The Hou Yi is definitely the better player to the Keranos, just, despite the handicap of the Circuit support. But overall, I would have to say, because you also have to keep in mind that Gilgamesh probably stole some Keranos kills as well, so they were probably, the Hou Yi was a little bit better than the Keranos, I'll say that much, in terms of pure skill. But the Keranos did fine. Again, we don't know how many kills Gilgamesh took away from the Keranos, but it's really irrelevant at this point. But I just didn't grasp how bad it was. But if your team is behind, and you have to keep a little bit of a better eye on that than I was in this game, don't rotate. This is actually a really great example of why you shouldn't sometimes rotate, right? I was rotating into terrible team fights, losing these team fights, and falling behind, right? I actually pointed out that the Achilles had not died or gotten any kills for most of the game. He was 0-2 throughout. However, this also meant he was consistently getting golden experience. I died 2 more times after winning my lane. Twice. And that was enough to put me behind by 2 or 3 levels and put me down by 4,000 gold by the end of the game. Now, considering he got 3 kills right in the final match, we're going to bop that down 1,000, so I was probably, in more accurate terms, down 3,000 gold for most of the game. So about 3 levels, about 3,000 gold behind, just by having a couple of bad rotations. It can make a difference. But you have to assess that. You have to say, well, on the solo lane, I should be farming. Is it worth the rotation? I didn't do that check, and I suffered for it. And even if I had farmed and not rotated, I don't think it would have mattered enough. Overall, the enemy team was doing really well. Pretty skilled overall. I probably would have been able to continue beating the Achilles in solo lane and thereby be able to farm pretty freely. And possibly Hoagie could have taken out Keranos in future team fights, but that still leaves Serket, Nox, and Gilgamesh absolutely slapping everyone else into next week. And the Serket was really doing fantastic, but again, she had Aphrodite and Serket to kind of consume for that. Particularly the Aphrodite, who was way too aggressive for who she was playing Aphrodite way out of role. Aphrodite cannot play mid. Again, because people will, and I'm going to be talking about pro games pretty soon, that doesn't mean a pro couldn't make her work in the mid lane, but she's never going to be as effective in the mid lane as pretty much any other mage out there. So why would you take her in the mid lane if everyone else is better at that role than her? Right? So I hope this wound up being a little less about Xing Tian solo than I would have thought, but really the early game you've seen before, and this was another great example of great early and even some decent mid-game Xing Tian gameplay. I made some mistakes on the rotations, I underestimated how badly my team was doing, and I fell behind. And again, it's important for you to see these things, because I know a lot of other YouTubers don't really share their losses and why they lose, and I think that's really why a lot of people don't understand why they're losing. I mean, we hear about all these people getting upset and toxic when they start losing, when they start performing poorly, and I think part of that problem is because a lot of YouTubers don't show you why they lose. And so people who go on here to learn Smite aren't seeing the losses and aren't being given, well, here's why I'm losing. Here's why I lost. Well, I lost because even though I had a good-ish early to mid-game in the laning phase, once I started making those rotations and didn't notice how bad my team was doing, I fell behind because I didn't recognize that. I should have stayed in lane, I should have farmed, and I did not. And I died, and I was unable to do enough to help the team in the late game. And sometimes it's just a decision as simple as rotating. You think you're helping, but often you're just dying for no reason, like I was here. So with that being said, thank you all very much for joining me. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or requests, please leave them down in the comment section below. And thank you all very much for joining me, and have a great 24 hours.